Hey everybody, this is Ardwulf, and I'm coming to you with a new episode of the long-dormant Ardwulf Presents here on YouTube. I am coming to you live-ish. I'm not actually streaming this or anything. Just some video from Vanguard Saga of Heroes from Sony Online Entertainment. This is a game with kind of a storied history, and by storied I don't necessarily mean it's all been wine and roses. It certainly has not. The game had a pretty weak launch, one of the weakest launches in MMO history. It was a very badly managed game from the very beginning, but it had a lot of potential even at the time, and it's really come along. SOE, when they took the game over, really made a lot of improvements, and the game's pretty damn playable now. I recently came back after a long time away, probably about 9-10 months away, and I'm having just a fantastic time. You can see the game is quite scenic. I'm just flying around here on my rented flying mount. There are flying mounts in the game that you can own. They're pretty hard to get. They start around level 50. My character here is level 30. But you can rent flying mounts for a relatively small amount of change in various locations around the world, and they last for 5 minutes. You can see I've got 2 minutes left up here on this Griffin. There's a different mount for each of the world's 3 continents. This video is really not going to do the world of Vanguard much justice, because it's just enormous. It is vast, enormous, detailed, rich in lore. It can be empty in places. That's a common criticism, but actually to me that makes it feel like the world is more organic rather than being carefully sculpted to provide the optimal player experience like one sees in games like World of Warcraft or Star Wars The Old Republic, for example. That's certainly one way to approach design of an MMO world, but this is the other way. It's very organic. There are 19 races and 15 classes to choose from. There is very detailed crafting. There is an additional sphere called diplomacy that is the art of parlaying with NPCs, and there's a lot to that. Both crafting and diplomacy have their own leveling, they have their own progression, their own quests and gear and rewards. What we just hit there, that major hitch we just hit, was something I want to mention. This is one of the last remaining technical problems that is still left over from Vanguard's launch. It's what we call chunking in Vanguard. I'll pull up the map. You can see these grid squares. Each of those is a chunk. It's a section of the map loaded into the world. So what that hitch was the server uploading, or downloading in my case, the information for the chunk that we're traveling into to the client. Normally the chunk effect is about a 1 second hitch. So I've seen it take longer. I've seen it take as long as 3 or 4 seconds. Never really longer than that. Another thing about Vanguard is that it was known for poor performance even on relatively high-end machines when it launched. I'm playing it here. I'm capturing with Fraps, and I'm playing Vanguard at high settings with a couple other things turned up. And I'm playing on my laptop, and you can see I'm not really hurting on performance here. This is my character is a member of a race called the Vanguard, which is a sort of Viking-like human race. I hope you can also see that flying mounts and even regular mounts tend to feel like they have some mass in Vanguard. I've just got a parachute buff here that parachuted me safely to the ground after the 5 minutes were up. I'd also like to let you take the time to enjoy the great Vanguard music, but frankly, I like to talk too much, and there's a ton of Vanguard music on YouTube already. So search for Vanguard Saga of Heroes soundtrack. You'll come up with hundreds of tracks. The soundtrack for Vanguard is by Todd Maston, who's not a composer that most people are probably very familiar with from other stuff, but he has done a number of other things, and his work in Vanguard is just this game's just got a tremendous soundtrack. We're in the Vanguard capital of Helgorad right now, and this drunk puking behind the bar is my quest giver. So I'm going to talk to him. Oh, maybe he's not my quest giver. Hold on, I got to look at the quest. Nope, he's not the quest giver. That guy's inside. I had to talk to the drunk earlier. See, another interesting thing, almost every door, every building with a door in Vanguard, you can open the door and go inside. There isn't always anything interesting inside, but sometimes there is. Okay, this is my guy, and you can see from this quest icon, the scroll, that is actually a diplomacy quest icon. So the green means that I've completed it, of course. I'm going to turn this guy in, and I'm going to pick up this quest, which... okay.
Back so soon?
I am currently pursuing what are called the web quests, which are major diplomacy quest lines. You can start them at a relatively low diplomacy level. I'll show you my diplomacy panel here. This is the character panel in Vanguard. You have 3 spheres. You have adventuring, which is your standard go kill monsters, get loot, go into dungeons and stuff like that. And it has its own gear and its own stats. You have crafting. You can see that I'm a level 30 adventurer, but I'm only a level 6 crafter, and I have my own set of crafting gear. And I can actually click this box. Let me rotate to show you the character. That's my adventuring gear that I'm wearing right now. I can click this box to put on my crafting gear, which looks kind of hillbilly-ish now that I think about it. But he's only level 6. You can also have, you can see that this is my harvesting stuff. Harvesting doesn't have a level, but it has a skill. Each character can have a primary and a secondary harvesting skill. It doesn't matter which is which. They're both the same. So this right here is my harvesting get-up. You can have harvesting tools. You can have harvesting equipment. There are different kinds of nodes out in the world. I'll hopefully get into that in a future video. We'll go to diplomacy. You can see that I'm a level 9 diplomat, up from level 6 just the other day. You can see that diplomacy has its own stats. There are tabs along the bottom. In this case, the tab for diplomacy is factions, so I've got a couple different factions here. You get these prestige factions for doing civic diplomacy, and these other factions are just like your regular type faction grind factions. Yeah, looks like I pissed those guys off. Anyway. So you can see here that diplomacy's got its own equipment, and the web quests is kind of what fills you in with a full set, more or less, of diplomacy equipment. You also have a mount panel. I'll show you my mount, my regular mount, which is my horse. It's a pretty good looking horse. The mounts do, by the way, scale to character size, so my giant, not giant, but pretty big Viking type guy has a bigger horse than the halfling would. Horses can have their own equipment, including saddlebags. There's a spot for a flying mount here, which is where the Griffin goes if you rent one. Vanguard also has appearance tabs. Right now I don't really have any appearance gear, but in all likelihood the adventuring gear I'm wearing right now is going in my appearance slots when I'm done, because I really like the way it looks right now. Not entirely sure where I'm going next. So I'm going to sign off while I figure out what to do. And I hope you guys enjoyed this very brief look at Vanguard Saga of Heroes. Vanguard is going free-to-play sometime this summer. An exact date has not yet been announced by SOE, but my guess is it'll be fairly late in the summer. The team has already been expanded in preparation for that. They're already working on things. We are now, after 2.5 years, maybe a little longer, of basically no updates in Vanguard. We are now getting a patch every week, or pretty much every week. Now, they're not huge patches yet, but we can tell from the forum buzz, from what the devs are saying, that we're going to start seeing bigger patches. And we're going to see a major content release in all likelihood when free-to-play goes live. No one knows much about the model yet. It's probably going to resemble the SOE model that they use for EverQuest and EverQuest 2, but we'll see. I personally think that SOE has a little more room to be experimental with Vanguard. There's not a lot to lose. The game does not have an enormous population. You may have seen one or two other people floating around while I've been filming this, although this is not really a particularly this is not really a hub of activity in Vanguard right here where I'm at. Where I started, before I started filming, but I didn't catch that on video. So hopefully we'll see some stuff in Vescal's Exchange or Call at some later point. So signing off, this is Ardwulf. Hope you've enjoyed it. There will be a link to my website and the show notes. Show notes. I think I'm a podcaster. Isn't that cute? There'll be a link to my website in the notes down below, so check that out. We've got a lot of stuff on Vanguard and other MMORPGs and some other games too. So check that out, and hopefully we'll see you next time for episode 4.